Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to our third episode of Swimming Podcast. If you're new here, I'm Kate, and every week I talk with different people who have positively impacted the sport of swimming. We have another fantastic guest for this episode today. She's a two-time Olympic medalist, has broken 12 world records, yes, I said that correctly, and she was on top of the international competition for over 10 years. With that said, let's get our guest, Jessica Hardy, on the show. Jessica, thank you so much for making time to talk to me on my podcast today.
Thanks for having me on. It's nice to, talk to another swimming enthusiast, and I'm really appreciative for what you're doing for the sport. It's an honor to be on here.
Thank you so much. I have a little story for you. Hopefully you enjoy it and not think I'm a little creepy. But one day, my friends and I, we also went to trials together just to watch. And we went to the spaghetti factory in Omaha, and we were eating lunch. It was fine. And then towards the end, we see someone walk in, and I turn my head. I look up, and I'm like, I think that's Jessica Hardy. And my friends look at me, and they're like, oh, really? So they take out their phones, they search up a picture of you, and they're looking, and they're trying to compare the pictures like on the web with you, and they're like, yeah, that's her. So we weren't sure what to do, and we were like, do we talk to her? What should we do? So we finally convinced my friend to go up to you, and I remember her saying, excuse me, are you Jessica Hardy? And you were like, yes, and we got to take a picture with you, and then I kind of felt bad after because some people started coming towards you, and so yeah, that was like the first time I saw you, and
That's so funny.
yeah.
It was nice. That's good. That's a good memory.
Yeah.
You guys are resourceful. Very impressive.
Yeah, I know. I knew there was gonna be a lot of people around, and that just popped into my head, and I was like, that's Jessica Hardy. But yeah, so you didn't compete in the 2016 trials, and you went. What was the main difference between being a spectator and competing?
No, I did compete, and that actually was my last competition.
Oh, you did compete.
Career. Yeah, so I got fifth in the 100 breast.
Oh, okay.
Did not make it. I had a lot of injuries the last probably 3.5 years of my career, so wasn't really surprised with the outcome, but it was kind of a fun farewell to the sport. I did have a different perspective than the other 4 Olympic trials I went to because it was a lot more relaxed. I'd already gone to the Olympics, didn't really foresee it going as well as I kind of needed it to make the team, and it wasn't a huge surprise. I was ready for it to kind of be the finale of my career, and it was a enjoyable time for sure. Yeah.
So that's great, obviously, and I know you've had a very successful career, but how did you first get started in swimming, and what was like the main reason?
I fell in a pool at a birthday party at 3-ish.
Oh my gosh.
And, yeah, I mean, just a freak accident. Like, I just didn't, I don't remember it, but I didn't know how to swim, and somebody had to jump in to pull me out.
Oh my gosh.
And so my mom put me in swim lessons right after that, and I actually went to the swim school where my daughter goes now. So it's full circle, but from there I swam in the summers and played a bunch of other sports, and I didn't focus on swimming exclusively until I was 16. So I was definitely a late, enthusiast to the sport. I'm a sprinter, and I swam on like the Mission Viejo Nadadors growing up, which is a notoriously distance team, and I really struggled to just kind of survive practices. So it wasn't until I found Irvine Nova had a bunch of really fast sprinters at the time. Dave Salo was the coach, and he, was the only coach that I had ever heard of that really recognized the difference in training a sprinter. And as soon as I found that team, I was like, okay, I'll quit water polo. I'll focus on swimming. This was a blast. And it paid off because I broke a world record a year and a half into quitting all my other sports.
Wow. I mean, clearly it worked out with such a successful career. But I wanted to talk about just staying motivated because, like you said, you played many different sports and hobbies. How were you able to stay motivated through those distance practices, or did you not really stay motivated and you just wanted to get out of there?
I hated training. I still hate training. I don't miss it at all. As a kid growing up, I used to dread practices daily and, make up excuses and try to talk my mom out of making me go. but I hung in there for the meets because I loved racing, and I usually raced a lot better than I trained and could beat all the kids that did really well in practice, even though I didn't do well in practice, so it was kind of just for fun. Like, I would go to socialize and not stress out. I would try not to stress out as much as I could, but just genetically, like, my aerobic gene is awful, so I really struggled as a kid. I mean, I think that's the hardest part about our sport is, there's a lot of old school mentalities, I want to say. I don't want to stereotype and generalize everybody, because there's a few coaches who are making great strides and innovations, but I think the sport of swimming can come a long way in the way we approach our training. And for age group swimmers specifically in this generation, they're used to having the internet at their fingertips and having results instantly. And our sport takes a year's worth of hard work before you can taper for one meet to maybe go a best time. So, it's not easy to stay focused and stay committed, but making it fun along the way and enjoying, like, the people you train with, and, holding out for those meets when you can race fun and, swim new events, and trying to find the enjoyment along the way, I think, is the biggest key.
Yeah, so what would you say to a swimmer who maybe is lacking that motivation and maybe not having that much fun in the sport? What piece of advice would you give them?
I think playing other sports is not a bad idea. Like, some coaches are going to really hate that I'm saying that, but I think it improves athleticism in general, and it's going to make you a better swimmer to be a better athlete. And as long as you stay in the water, maybe twice a week, or, don't take too much time away from swim practices, and just stay connected to the sport still, I think playing other sports does nothing but benefit you. And if you don't want to do that, if you want to stay in the sport of swimming, trying new events, mix it up a little bit so you're not putting so much pressure on your best events, making new friends if you have to switch teams to, like, find people that you get along with really well. I think those are the kind of things that can make the sport enjoyable when you're, in a rut or not enjoying the process as much.
Yeah, absolutely. So you said you played water polo as your other sport, or did you play any other sports and hobbies?
I tried almost all of them, but I have horrible hand-eye coordination. Like, softball, I hit one ball the whole season. Otherwise, I struck out consistently. And soccer, I'm too aggressive for without the skill. Like, I draw blood and, I get competitive, but I don't have the skills, So water polo was good because it was in the water and it related to swimming, but it was different and competitive and aggressive, which was great.
I'm just like you. I tried all the sports and then just landed on swimming. I just found it the most enjoyable. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So for out-of-water activities, obviously you have Dryland. What do you think is the best Dryland exercise that will help in the water? Is there a specific one or anything you can think of?
I'm a sprinter, so very fast twitch, strong muscles, but not easy for me to stretch them. I think Cesar Cielo, I don't know if you know who he is. He won a bunch of Olympic medals. He couldn't even touch his toes. I remember warming up with him one time. So sprinters, what really helps us is yoga. That's a way to just kind of lengthen out. But I do everything, like, especially when I was in training, I would do, like, up to 5 hours of Dryland a day. Trying different stuff, really open-minded, and trying to I just try to stay engaged and not get bored. So really anything.
Was it more like explosive type things or strength?
I was just going to say both.
Yeah, both.
For sure. Strength, is important, and it's easier to build strength on land than in the water. So it will, help all different types of strokes and different, aerobic capacities to build your strength, but translating it into the water. So if I did a strong strength session, I would try to get in the water right after and make sure that it translates, because, you can be too strong for the water too, in a way, where you're, like, heavy and can't hold the water as well. You still have to have that finesse. So it's a balance.
So we're going to go back to when you were in high school, because I was reading an article that you were a very good and very talented high school swimmer. And what do you think the main difference is between just club swimming and high school swimming?
Yeah, huge difference. High school was the first time that it was a team sport for me, like swimming relays. where the points matter. Your time doesn't matter. It's just about kind of racing and enjoying, beating people and swimming off events for whatever the team needs you to do. And, other sports, other athletes, and other students from all over the school come watch and cheer a big meet, on. And it was really more of a social event for more than just myself for the first time. And I absolutely adored high school swimming. I loved it. And club swimming, they didn't have enough meets. Like, it was like once a month. That's a lot of meets. And I hated training. So high school swimming was a blast, having multiple meets a week and, a lot of action, a lot of excitement. I loved it.
Would you think that high school swimming's better, or do you still like club?
They have their strengths and their weaknesses. High school swimming, you don't get the work in that you need to swim really fast over the summer. And club, you find a higher level of talent than in high school swimming alone. So I think you need to have the good balance of both if you really want to reach your full potential. But if you have the opportunity to swim high school swimming, if your coaches can work it out and the schedules get along, I think if you can, I think it's absolutely worth it.
I am going into high school swimming next season, so I was just trying to get some advice, from the best.
Right.
But
that's awesome.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about brands, because I know, correct me if I'm wrong, you were with Speedo?
I was, not anymore.
You were with Speedo. What made you join Speedo and have them put trust in you and you put trust in them and just work with them?
Deep question.
Yeah.
Good question. I talked to pretty much all the major suit manufacturers when I was signing, and I preferred to race in Speedo at the time. It was back in 2007 I went pro, so it was a long time ago now. But being a breaststroker, I was a little more picky about my suit. We used to race in like hip suits, like basically our training suit. That's what I raced in at the time. So we didn't even feel comfortable wearing knee suits until right about that time. And then there was the ankle suit in 2009. It was just kind of like whatever I felt the most comfortable in. And then I really enjoyed their training suits because you spend most of the time in their training suits and being able to wear something that you feel comfortable in and have some fun with, like different prints and colors. I enjoyed that as well. But it's pretty crazy to see how competitive the market of swimsuits are now. Like, they're all much more equal with the competition suit rules being so strict. So, I love seeing how strong Team Tier is, and Arena has such a strong international presence. I think, I'm very impressed by all of the suit companies, and the more support we can get into the sport, on a professional level, I 100% appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little picky of the suit too, because I'm a butterflyer. And I just don't like, sometimes when I'm doing butterfly, water kind of slips in with the suit. And sometimes it's a comfort level. A bigger meet where you're allowed to suit up and wear a knee skin, I decided not to, just because for that comfort level. But, it just depends on the meet.
Yeah, I think comfort's the number one thing. You gotta feel good and look good to swim fast sometimes.
Exactly. So let's just talk about nutrition for just a little bit. What was your favorite post-meet and pre-race snacks that you had?
I was sponsored by chocolate milk for a couple years, and I was so excited about that because I genuinely loved drinking that after every practice and race. And then I got to work with them. It's kind of like a dream, dream job. But that was for sure my favorite post-recovery snack. And pre-race, really just anything that wouldn't upset my stomach is what I like. So, a lot of the times when you're competing overseas in like a China or, somewhere completely different with different food than you're used to, you have to be super flexible. And I would just look for the familiar and try to make, everything kind of as calm as possible. So if it's like bringing peanut butter with me to make a PB&J, that kind of thing, I'm flexible.
Yeah, so you mentioned like being able to adapt for different countries. What I think, for me at least, would be the hardest thing to adapt to is the time change. Because I know when you're going to different international meets, you get some time to get acclimated into the country. But was that ever a problem with you for sleep?
Yeah, I struggle with jet lag a lot. My husband is from Switzerland, and he traveled. His dad used to work for an airline, Swiss Air, and they moved all over the world. They travel a lot more than me, so he's a pro with jet lag and does not get it somehow. But yeah, I try to sleep anywhere and any time that you can when you're traveling. And then even if it's like leading up to it, trying to get used to that time zone, if you have to go to bed early and wake up early, or the opposite, try to slowly, get used to that time zone, and just taking sleep when you can get it. And sometimes I'd be racing like literally like a zombie, exhausted. But you know what? Everyone goes through it on the international level. We've all had our fair share of those times, and you can still swim fast when you're tired. You just gotta, do some like jumping jacks and pump yourself up a little bit more before the race. But it's not easy.
Did that affect your training at all, with the lack of sleep? And if you were tired, did it affect your training?
Yeah, I think, it's the same as here. If you have like a ton of exams or something and you're just exhausted, it's going to affect your training. But trying to stay positive and doing the best you can, I think, is all you can control. And for the huge meets, like the Worlds and the Olympics, they get you over there a month in advance. And there's a lot of time to get used to it. But the smaller meets, that's when it's more difficult. And I looked at it as like really good training. I got to compete and train exhausted, and I'm know how to handle that stress, and it's a leg up I had on other people that hadn't experienced it before in a way.
So how, you mentioned you have to stay positive and you have to adapt. How are you able to keep mentally a positive attitude through everything? Maybe if you had a bad meet, a bad race, how are you able to stay positive?
Yeah, that's not always easy, but it's literally what makes or breaks athletes. The mindset is more than 99%. I mean, it's huge for your the outcome of your races and stuff. So I just spent a lot of time kind of putting everything into perspective and, keeping a clear focus of what my goals are and what I needed to do to get there, and baby steps along the way. If a race along the way didn't go well and it's not what I had hoped would happen, I learned something from that and moved forward with it. And keeping perspective on the long term, I raced until I was like 29 years old. So there was a long time to kind of learn and adapt and go through ups and downs. And I did have a lot of huge ups and downs. So, it's not easy. It's not always rainbows and butterflies, but, it will be worth it in the end if you stick with it, stay positive, find, the things that are good in any situation, and hold on to those in a way.
That's great that you were trying to keep a positive attitude, because like you said, it makes or breaks an athlete. But I have one final question for you, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to take it back to just talking about like internationally and stuff. Do you have a favorite place that swimming has taken you? If so, why?
Oh my gosh, I can't pick one. I have swum on every continent in the world except for Antarctica, and I appreciate every single place that I raced. I cannot pick one, but I did meet my husband at a meet at a World Championships in Canada, so that one was cool because it changed my life forever.
Yeah.
But Australia has the best pools, like right on the ocean, and the best weather with really good swim fans. It's like their, like football or hockey amount of passion there. So I think that's like the most entertaining place to swim, but I'm going to say Canada because I met my husband.
I'm going to wrap up the podcast here. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me, and I hope you enjoyed it.
I loved it. Thanks for having me on, and keep up the great work. I can't wait to hear what guests you have next.
That's a wrap on episode 3. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next episode.